What's up guys? It's been about 6 years since I first reviewed this movie, and of course my equipment has changed drastically, so I figured let's go back and check out 2014's John Wick on 4K Blu-ray. I'm not going to get into how good or bad the movie is, I'm just going to share some of my thoughts on the audio and video quality. Now let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot in 2.8K, it's got a 4K DI, it's rated R, runtime is 101 minutes, aspect ratio is 239:1, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. Let's check out the audio mix first and see how active this mix is using the Atmos viewer, and see if it still holds up today. If you don't know what the Atmos Object Viewer is, you can find a link down below in this video's description that tells you all about it. Before we get into all the action, this mix does have some decent atmospheric effects. There's the funeral scene at 4 minutes 30 seconds in that will engulf you in a cemetery full of rain. It comes at you not only in the lower channels, but it fills in the height channels as well. The scene at the bar at 41:35 should fill your lower surround channels with people talking in the background, and there's music playing overhead. Things start to ramp up at 29 minutes 40 seconds in when we get the first major fight scene. Up until now it's been mostly a static mix, but once the bullets start to fly and the glass starts to break, we can see that this is a very dynamic mix with objects that move around everywhere. It not only activates the wide channels, but the center surround channel as well. And this happens for every action scene in the movie. As for bass response, it's got some nice tactile presence. It's not quite Godzilla King of the Monsters level of bass, but it's impactful nonetheless. At 24:20, when John starts using the sledgehammer, you can feel the floor rumble beneath your feet during every hit. If someone is getting punched, there's a deep resonant thud that should vibrate your seat. Gunshots have nice weight and the music thumps pleasantly deep. Now there wasn't any real infrasonic extension, but it still hits nice overall. If you're new to the channel and you're into home theater and like to know if a movie's worth playing on your surround sound setup, or want to know about the latest and greatest in audio and video gear, then tap the subscribe button for new weekly videos. As for video quality, this isn't quite as sharp and detailed as the newer movies, but there are some shots that are still very crispy. You'll still be able to make out the pores and wrinkles, and John's suit does have some great textural detail. That said, a lot of it does have a softness to it that keeps it from being razor sharp. Now, because of the lenses that they used and the way that they framed many of the shots, it's got a really shallow depth of field. So the subjects that are in focus are very detailed, while the backgrounds are very soft and blurry. It's an artistic choice, and personally, it's one that I think looks great. As for the HDR, it's got a fairly bright picture, although it's not quite Aquaman levels of brightness, but it's also not overly dim. The color palette ranges from really deep dark blacks to an orange and teal to sometimes it can be very warm. There's plenty of specular highlights that really pop, and the neon colors contrast nicely against the darker backdrops with HDR vibrancy. Shadow detail can get somewhat lost in the very darkest parts of the image, but the overall clarity more than makes up for it. It's a great looking movie and still holds up as one of the best looking movies in the franchise, so I'm going to have to go with an 8.9 for video. For audio, it's just as good as any of the sequels, and in some cases I think better. The bass I didn't think was demo worthy when I first reviewed it, and I still don't think it is, but it's still got some hefty impact, and the soundstage is wide and detailed with very active surround channels both lower and heights. So I'm going to go with a 9 for audio. So what are your thoughts on John Wick on 4K Blu-ray? Do you think it's the best in the franchise, or do you prefer the over-the-top action in the sequels? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Now, if you do want to pick up this movie, I'll leave some links for it down below in this video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media. And if you'd like to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you again in the next video.